Hello, Dad. Welcome back to another episode of Honest About Life. Thanks for your willingness to get together with me
It's
and
awesome, pal.
and
Yeah,
have this
thanks. This is fun.
conversation. It is fun. It is fun. I've learned a lot along the way, and the hope is that we can be honest and transparent, and maybe even help someone along the way with our own experiences. And the topic of this week's conversation is um, trying to be positive all the time, and what drove you to to pursue the things you wanted to pursue, but then also being in the spotlight. You had a reputation that you had to maintain, and you had to be positive, and how you reacted to situations was probably under the spotlight more than it would be for most. So you had to be very careful about what you said and how you said it and how you reacted to sort of everyday challenges. We talk a little bit about that. How did you stay? What about you enabled you to be positive?
Very good. Good topic again. This is going to be something that we can hopefully help others, figure that piece out, because staying positive has always been a big part of my being. I don't like negative. I don't like it. And I used to be a negative person. I used to, but as I grew older and as I went through this experience of doing weather, I remember that it seemed easier when I was positive. Everything, everything that I did seemed more fun when I was positive. So, even though we had some things to be negative about with the development of, new tools and stuff that came along as I was doing the weather, I realized that, man, I'm having fun doing this as long as I'm positive and looking forward and looking ahead to the new stuff that we are going to be doing. And so I guess that's the biggest part of how I determined that being positive was the best way. It was the most fun for me. It was the way that I could enjoy what I was doing, because I was terrified. Give it to you straight. The first time I was on TV, I was terrified. I mean, I was like, I'm not going to survive this. But then gradually, it started to become easier. And as I said, when I realized that, hey, I'm having fun and I'm positive about looking forward to tomorrow, then it became a lot easier for me.
Do you remember about, because you've had some challenging times? I know that you've had challenges in your own um, in relationships and your love life and raising children, lots of pressures, that external pressures outside of work. I think that's quite remarkable that you're able to um, continue to do what you did for so long, knowing that you're juggling a lot of different things, and you remain positive. So, knowing that you had all those challenges, do you remember sort of what age you decided, I need to be positive because these experiences that I'm going to have every day they'll be better. My on-air presence will be better. I'll project happiness and joy. What age did that come about?
I think it became a little bit more apparent to me because of the stresses, and I was susceptible to stress. So I got diagnosed with, I'd have panic attacks. And that's when I started getting the negative things get in the way. And um, all those stresses and negativity came out in panic attacks. And I would literally not be able to be on the air. I mean, I had to get off the air in that instant, because when you have a panic attack, and I'm sure there are many people that go through this, it consumes your body, it consumes your mind. You have no way of getting out of it. So I've been medicated for it, and I've been taking medication for it for years. Once I began to let those negatives get in the way, they're powerful.
Yeah.
Don't let
You
it
know,
happen.
well, I appreciate you sharing that and being honest about it, Dad. That is a topic that really only became sort of okay to talk about. Gosh, within the last 10 years, maybe there's been some high
Right.
profile people that have talked about mental health and anxiety and et cetera, these sorts of things. And you were going through it. I mean, how many years ago did this start?
Yeah, well, it was probably, I'm going to say I was 30, maybe 32 when it really
Wow.
became apparent that was going to be a
Wow.
problem for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the last 30 years of being on air, let's see, how many years did I do? 43 and a half. So I was 30 and I got to 60. So yeah,
30.
about 30 years of, trying to deal with this. And again, I wanted to look at the positive side. And once I started to think to myself, I'm going to be positive about this, even the medication and stuff seemed to work better. Everything worked better as long as I was positive, and I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to battle through it, and I did.
Was it tough to accept the fact that you were going to now be taking medication for it? Was that an easy process?
It was horrible. I did not like taking medication. I didn't even like taking aspirin for a headache. Back then it was aspirin, but now it's ibuprofen or Tylenol, and I didn't like taking that. So it was horrible for me to realize that I needed this. A doctor explained it to me. He said, you have a couple of choices here. You can get to your end point by taking a car. It's much easier. Or you can get to your next destination by walking, a little bit more difficult. Or you can decide, I'm not going to get to that next point. And he said, why not take the easy route? Take the car. And that's what I did by taking the medication, I think.
So some people give up and they decide, I'm not going to
do it because it's too stressful. I've had friends that have been in the business with me that haven't shared that with, but they knew what I was going through because I had shared it with them, and they were going through the same thing. They had to quit. They couldn't get to that point where I'm going to battle through this. I'm going to get through this. They never got to that point, so they had to give up what had been their dream. Several of them were reporters, and I saw it happening to them, and I knew exactly what was happening, and I felt for them. And we chat about it a lot, but a lot of times it's more powerful than you are, and that's what I'm hoping that we can help people that are in that situation and realize, what, use that positive frame of mind and use that positiveness to get through it.
That's a good note to end on, Dad. Thank you for that. And I'm sure we'll get back into that. There likely to be, quite an audience for that topic because they want to know more from someone who went through it. Someone, a familiar face like yours who muscled through it. And I bet when you were 30 years ago, it was a different time, right? It was the 90s, and expectations were different about how you carried yourself and those sorts of things. So I'm sure it was interesting.
It was, for sure. And as you said, that was back in the time when it was a little bit more, hush hush. Don't talk about something like that. And that's true of a lot of mental illness. It used to be hush hush, but now that we're getting it out there, I think, in my frame of mind, that's the positive. Now we're talking about it, opening it up, letting other people help you. Let people help.
Well, thank you for that, Dad. Let's end this week's show with that. It is a great message, great note. I think, like I said, I think we'll get back to that at some point. And I'll tease up next week's show, using our defenses. And when do we use them? When do we recognize? When should we recognize we're using them? And when is it just not helpful? So thank you so much, Dad. Love you. And I look forward to next week.
Sounds great, buddy. Thank you, pal.
Bye now.